Hey, what's happening, everybody? I hope all is well with you. I know it's been a very long time. FYI, this is not a singing video. I am going to share a little bit of motivation with you. So, this is more so of a motivational share. I have been transitioning to more of a motivational speaker with some singing here and there. And I've been sharing quite a bit on Facebook and a little bit on Instagram. And I have different pages in different countries, but YouTube, um, it's the one that reaches, the furthest and the widest. But anyway, I wanted to come on and share what I shared earlier regarding not overthinking your swing. And what I mean by that is if you think about a baseball player, his gift actually made room for him in the form of stepping up to the plate, to take its turn at bat. And that's kind of where I want to come, from with you guys. Hey, Melvina. So anyway, so it's just a little bit of warning. I am going to do very little singing, but I will come back to sing some more at another time. But this is for those of you in other countries and who desire. Many people have asked different questions and things like that on other social media formats, and they've asked me to come on here. So I'm going to do that as well. So now, like I said, like the gift of a baseball player who steps up to the plate to take its turn at bat, I want you to know that God is preparing you for your turn at bat. And as you step up to the plate of your life, don't overthink your swing because you can think yourself out of an opportunity or a blessing. And because you're watching this, I'm here to encourage you to boldly step up by faith and watch God step in as fate and see your swing to success. So, there's a show here in the United States. It was called The Jeffersons, and the song was like, well, we're moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. We're moving on up to the east side. We finally got a piece of the pie. But the fish don't fry in the kitchen. Beans don't burn on the grill. Did a whole lot of trying just to get up that hill. But now we're up in the big leagues, getting our turn at bat. As long as we're living, it's you and me, baby, and ain't nothing wrong with that. We're moving on up. Ooh, to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. We're moving on up to the east side. We finally got a piece of the pie. Yeah. That was a song. I used to love that song. But here's the thing about it. You see, God has given you a gift, and that gift, it's your talent. And I liken it to baseball because there are so many different elements, but I want to make this story as short as possible. You see, your gift has either made room, or it's making room, or about to make room for you to step up to the plate of your life and take your swing at bat. Now, whatever you were doing during the downtime of this pandemic, that determines your level of success in the uptime. And I went to the internet to find some quotes in sports, and one of them is the best athlete is made during the off season. Another one is players who complain about how much work they have to do in the off season are usually the players who also complain about the playing time during the season. And the last one is average players want to be left alone to do their own thing. Good players want to be coached, but great players want to be told the truth. Oh, and I don't know about you, but I want to know truth, because the truth is what enabled me to visit and perform in 24 different countries, not just here in the United States, right? Oh, hey, I see you guys over there. I see you, Nita Pittman, Melvina, Lady Shorty. Hello and Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Yes, Happy New Year to everybody. Absolutely. My condolences. Oh, yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, Dad was a great man. Very, very much so. Bettered. Hey, what up, homies? Still listening to your old songs? Let's give him praise. Bishop Jakes, I know, right? I know. That is such a great album, great song as well that somebody wrote. Can't remember who wrote it. You know, I'm swinging into my success in 2021. I love it. You better believe it. So, all right, so let's keep going right here. So now what I want to do is I want to reference one particular story in the Bible. And when I come on and give you guys these shares, I share stories and allegories and testimonies and experiences from various sources. Okay, but this particular one here, I'm going to reference the children of Israel because I find a lot of similarities in what they experienced in their country with what many of us are experiencing in our country. In our countries, because history always repeats itself. And I feel as though we're still growing as as a family of human beings. Now, the children of Israel, I want to tell you about this one swing. Now, they had many swings, but this one swing in particular. And that was during their time of transition from their imprisonment and slavery to their promised land and freedom. And the children, for those of you who don't know, the children of Israel were God's chosen people, right? And they were imprisoned as slaves to the Egyptians. The Egyptians had a king, a pharaoh, but he was just a man, but it was their president, so to speak. So God sent another man to tell him to let his people go. But the king refused. He wanted to keep things as they were. He didn't want anything to change. He was in charge. He was in control, and that's all to it. But God had a different plan. All right. So he refused. So God allowed famine and plagues and even great death to fall upon the country. Well, through a series of unfortunate events, he eventually and reluctantly relinquished and set them free. So look here, the party began, baby. I mean, they got to the place where they were like, we're free. We're free. They went around telling everybody, oh, we're finally free. Yes. And they began to pack up their things, and they began to load up the donkeys and load up their carriages. They got all of their belongings, put their backpacks on, and marched forward. And they were just dancing and having a good time, singing in the streets. Fellas had their pants hanging off their behinds. They had their swag going, and they were just dancing up a storm, singing here and dancing there, just rejoicing, right? Well, they were moving forward, right? So let me turn it down. I love this song so much. But look, they were rejoicing through it all. Can you just imagine all of the children of Israel who've been in prison for 400 years, finally free? So they're moving forward and they're having a good time. And then they come up on a situation. And you see, they came up on water. It was the sea. And when they came to the water, they couldn't see their way around it. They're looking around like, wait a minute, is there a path over there? Or is there a path over? No path, but there were no tunnels. There were no bridges to take them under or over. And the thing about it was death was thunderously approaching them from the back door of the house of God, because they were the children, via the army that the Pharaoh sent back out because he changed his mind. He changed his mind. He was like, no, go get them, and we are going back to where we were. So they had the army behind them coming to kill them. And the billows of the roaring sea were crashing upon them in the front. And they were trapped. They were sequestered. They were quarantined. They were stuck, like many of us today. And they didn't know how, they didn't know when, they didn't know where or what. But in their despair, they looked for someone to blame, as we often do. And they didn't look at, the good that did happen, but they were looking at, but okay. Let me see it. Okay. No, they were not looking at the good that did happen, but the bad that was happening. And this was their turn at bat, you all. This was their opportunity. And their fear was causing their faith to falter. And they had already witnessed the power of God via the plagues on the people who imprisoned them, thus causing the Pharaoh to release them. And it's the same power of God that was transitioning them from where they were to where God prepared for them, to where God had prepared for them. And, but when they got to a place in space and time where they've never been, all they could see was what was before them and not what was for them. And that was a problem. And that sea that they looked at with their natural eye was the block that kept them from seeing the blessing. You get what I'm saying? So, but the thing about it is, I just want to let you guys know that, just like it was their turn at bat and their fear was causing their faith to falter, that's something that we can't allow to happen right now. So for those of you who don't know, faith is said to be the substance of what's hoped for and the evidence of what you don't see. And when your faith falters, even what you don't see can't be seen. What? Well, I'll tell you what I mean. So in the Bible, it says that to them who have, more will be given to them. And to them who doesn't, even what they have will be taken away from them. So I just want to propose a question. Could that mean understanding? Or in this case, could it mean faith? Well, it wasn't very specific. So the children of Israel were imprisoned for over 400 years. And just because they were released physically doesn't mean that they were released mentally. So let me tell you a little story about myself. This is my own personal experience, right? So to make a long story short, my father was a very powerful and successful speaker of the Bible. He was a pastor of many people. He was a father to millions. He was a teacher. He was a preacher of the Word of God. And he was my provider, my protector. And my thing is, how can I support my father? How can I use my talent of breath, of life, to support my dad? What can I choose as a career? And what could and would possibly guarantee more success? So what did I do? I did as Jerry and Esther Hicks speaks of, which is I chose the path of least resistance. So I became a drummer. And from drumming, I became a singer. My dad made me do what I didn't want to do, which was sing a song in the choir at the age of 16. I was shy. I didn't want to be out in front of the people. So I hid in front and behind of the cymbals and things like that. Can you guys hear me okay? Because I finally got my little microphone connected. Can you hear me? Please let me know. And so from that, I had many other opportunities because the talent to drum became greater when I practiced, and the talent to sing became greater when I practiced. And as I took advantage of the opportunities that the talent brought my way, like singing a song on a famous gospel artist by the name of Timothy Wright. And that song was, Master, can you use me? Can you use someone who's finally surrendered all? Can you use someone who's waiting to hear your call? Oh, can you use someone who will give their all? Master, won't you tell me? Master, can you use me? And then I sang another song with Ron Winans, and it was, we must work while it is day, spreading the word of God as we walk along the way, willing to do his will. Then it was, we must witness to everyone we meet, in every song we sing. We must tell them of the soon coming King. And then I was able to open for the Winans when they came to perform at the at one of the big theaters in Chicago. And then that led to doing a play with Vanessa Bell Armstrong, Daryl Coley Commission, Fred Hammond, Dawkins and Dawkins, David Hollister, Rudy Ray Moore, the comedian, Dennis Edwards from The Temptations, and Esther from Good Times. All of us were in one play. It was written by a guy by the name of Benny Rogers. And then that led to other things. And then I got to the place where I was thinking, well, maybe I can perform secular music, which is other than gospel, and still perform it to the point where even my grandmother, who was so holy, I'm talking, if she met Mother Teresa, she would turn around and be like, okay, do you know Jesus? Do you know Jesus? That's who my grandmother was. But I wanted to record an album whereby she wouldn't be offended. And a friend asked me to sing background for him. And his name was Steve Grissett. And I was like, sure, no problem. And Steve gave me a few seconds, about 30 seconds of one of his songs. Well, the bottom line is that company ended up giving me the recording contract. But we worked it out where Steve Grissett was the writer, for a chunk of the songs. And one of those songs was my first hit. It was when you cry, I cry. You know I feel your pain. Girl, I know what you feel inside. 'Cause I feel it every time I close my eye. I cry again. And then the other songs, where is the love you said you'd give to me soon as you were free? Will it ever be? Where is the love? With Trina Barnett, 16 at the time. You told me that you didn't love him, and you were gonna say goodbye. But if you really didn't mean it, why did you have to lie? Well, bottom line is, I gave up the contract. I walked away from it. And then, because the gift constantly makes room for you, the president of the label was Daryl Porter. And it was Underworld Capitol Records. It wasn't just Capitol, but it was Underworld, who were the Hughes brothers. And they produced great films, and one of them was Dead Presidents. They produced the video to Where is the Love? So, listen, oh my gosh. Well, no. I think they produced another one of the videos. I forget another. But anyway, but the point is, it was the Hughes brothers and Capitol Records. But I gave it up. And then Daryl Porter flew me to New York, first class. It was one of my first times ever flying first class. And we set up a meeting with the Clive Davis. Yes, I'm giving you names because I want you to know this is a truth. It's not the truth. So when I say my truth, I don't want people to get it mixed up and think that it's the truth. It's the only way. No, this is just a truth. And I'm giving you facts. I'm calling names only to the point whereby it gives my stories validity. So this is what validates my story because of the names. I don't mention all the names. I don't name drop, but this is for simplicity of validity, for the simple fact of validity. So bottom line, I was told that I would not have a choice as to what I would sing. I had to sing whatever I was told to sing by a Clive Davis. So I thought more into it than I needed to. And I began to worry about my chances of making it into heaven because I lived most of my life in fear of a God that created me in this imperfect perfection of a meat suit, as they said on the movie Soul. And gave me so many restrictions. But the point is, I lived in fear and I began to worry, and thoughts become things. And because I was worrying, I added extra thought internally that brought about extra thoughts externally. So in actuality, what I did was my worrying caused me to think my faith out of doing what it already knew was done. The deal was already mine to have. But because of my lack of understanding of who God really is, I canceled the meeting. I did. I canceled the meeting with the Clive Davis, Whitney Houston, Alicia Keys, and God knows how many others. He was the best, top, biggest a super producer in all of the world. And I had an opportunity, but I gave it up because of fear, because of ignorance. And the Bible says that God's people perish due to the lack of knowledge. And it said that one thing that we ought to get above all things, that's anything that you can ask or even think, that one thing that we ought to get, it said, get understanding. And I did not take the time to get the understanding. So I thought myself out of that opportunity. I had the swing and opportunity of life, and I blew it. Years later, I fell on hard times. I hit rock bottom, and that thing was so hard, you all. It was so hard. So that was the first time that I heard the voice of God. And the long and short of that was, God told me to study the origin of my faith. And I did. And that was the beginning of my awakened journey to my authentic divine self, because we're all on it. But I was awakened to the fact that I was on this journey. Okay? So the bottom line is regarding that situation, and there are many others that I will share with you in the weeks to come. But I want you to see these examples, so that if there's anything that is relatable and applicable to your life, maybe there's something for you to get from this. But regarding my situation, hey, God blessed anyway, because all things work together for good to them who love God and are called according to his purpose. And we all are called to have that relationship with the divine source of all creation. And had I not been through that, I would not be able to tell and share this. But I want you to know that even though we are faced with some very challenging times right now, God's got us. God's got you. God's got your family. God's got your job. God's got your country. And if we would only trust in God, if we would acknowledge the higher source, God would see us through, just as he saw the children of Israel through the sea that prevented them from seeing the blessing. You get what I'm saying? But man, it's amazing. So anyway, um, we acknowledge it, acknowledge God, continue to do what we know to do, speak up when and where we can, because not everybody has freedom of speech like we do here in the United States. And if nothing, speak up in prayer. God hears you and God will meet you at your place of need. But only God can do that. You know, the children of Israel, they were, enslaved. And slavery is such a diabolical man made disease that's forged into the minds and memories of men. And like DNA, it's passed down through generations. And many of us are unaware that we too are slaves to the system, just like the children of Israel. They were a part of the system. They were the driving force to the system. They did the hard labor. They did the things that the upper echelon of people, that the people of the kingdom of the country didn't want to do. Still asleep, slowly perishing due to the lack of knowledge. But we are now where the children of Israel were. We're in transition from where we had ourselves to where God has for us. And here's the thing, there's no turning back. No, there's no turning back. Because why? It's because it's your turn. It's your turn, y'all. It's your turn. It's your turn. It's not only your turn, but it's your family's turn. It's your ethnicity's turn. It's your country's turn. It's your turn, but you have to believe it in order to receive it, and you got to speak it. Thoughts become things, but when you add the verbal energy of sound waves, frequencies to the vibration of your thoughts, things happen so much quicker. So you got to say, it's my turn. Even though it looks bad, you got to say, it's my turn, because I'm trying to tell you, the universe, it's conforming things to meet you where you are, to get you to where you are to be. But you got to say, it's my turn. So anyway, and here's the thing about it is, and when it's your turn, you're not going to overthink it, because you've prepared for it. So take your bat with your bad self, dripping with the swag of preparation, and step up to the plate and take your stance, because you're about to take your swing. Because God Almighty, the Creator, is winding up to throw his ball of opportunity to connect with your bat of preparation so you can knock it out of the park. And for those of you who've been sitting on the pandemic bench, get up and get ready by getting rid of what kept you where you've been this entire past year. Come on, somebody, you got to hear what I'm saying. There's room that was made by your gift before you even got it. That's what the gift does. It makes room for you. And there are other stories that I can reference, but I think you get it, And the thing about that room that was made by your gift even before you got it, there's a route to that room, and it's like a private road with your name on it. Would you like to know what it is? See, this is some of the stuff that I've gleaned down through the years by traveling and performing before, and hanging out in the planes and the Bentleys and Rolls Royces and the homes of the greatest of speakers of motivation and spirituality in the country. These are the things that I've gleaned from them, and these are the things that I have studied to show myself approved, a workman unto source creation God, that need not be ashamed, because I've learned to rightly divide the word of God, which is the truth, to rightly divide to discern it as well, what is for me, and not just taking face value what they give to me. Ooh, this is why I get so excited when I think about it. It's just that good. I love getting understanding, and I want to share some of that with you. But hey, so there's a route to the room. To that room, there's a route. And it's like a private road with your name on it. Well, I'm going to tell you what it is. First of all, the room is opportunity. Second, the gift is your talent. Third, the route to the room is the road of little to no resistance. It's like Esther and Jerry says, it's the path of least resistance. See, because I had to rephrase it, because when you quote somebody, you need to give them, their credit. So I had to rephrase it a little bit, because sometimes I get so caught up in the excitement of what I'm about to say that I forget to say certain things. You know what I'm saying? So, and then there are others, the ones who's on deck, because you have the hole, which is like the bench in baseball I'm speaking about. Right? So if you're a professional baseball player, you've gone through the training and the steps it takes to get to being a professional player. And you're on the bench, which means that you are going to get a bat. And so there are three different positions. You're at the plate, you are in the deck, on deck, or you're on the bench in the hole. While you're on the bench, you have a tendency to, to make a long story short, when you're on the bench, when you're in the hole, the ideal thing would be to have your helmet on. It would be to put your gloves on. You know what I'm saying? It would be to get your bat ready. You see what I'm saying? And then from the bench, the hole, then you go to the deck. You get it? And being on the deck, you already are prepared. You already know what you want to do, but you're just behind the person who's at the plate. And you're off to the side, whereby you can see what's being done and prepare even more for what it is that you already know to do. That's an advantage. But the point is, you've done everything you know to do. Now all you have to do is just wait your turn. And this is the beauty of what's happening right now. Some of you, you've already prepared. You've done everything you could do. You've worked. You have made something out of nothing. You've taken the little that you had. You've given it to source creation, and it has multiplied it. You're working 2 and 3 jobs, smaller jobs than the job that you had before the pandemic. You don't know where. You don't know how. You don't know what. You don't know when. But yet and still, you're moving forward. You've done everything that you know to do. And now all you can do is just stand still and see the hand of God. So, the one who's on deck in the batter circle, the ones who've traveled the path of least resistance and are ready, fully prepared to step to the plate and take their turn at bat. Well, to you, God is saying the good thing that's about to come your way is going to blow your mind. Because God is releasing and sending an audience that's bigger than the capacity of the stadiums of your world, than the stadiums of your mind. We're talking about your world, the room that your gift that was given to you by the giver of gifts that's making opportunity for you. Well, it's your turn, you all. It's your turn. It's your turn, and that's what I needed and wanted to tell you. But when you've done everything you know to do, all you can do at this point is just acknowledge God in the situation and continue to move in the direction of desire. And that is moving. That is the applicable faith to what it is. That's the substance of what you hope for. And it is the very evidence of what you don't see. But when you move in the direction of desire after getting understanding, then God conforms the things of the universe to meet you where you are, to get you where you are to be. Last little story. So when this guy called me up and asked me to record a song with him or for him. He says, just a little something that I'm doing. What's your fee? So I told him what my fee was. And he said, well, how much, what could you do on my song for this amount? And I said, nothing. So he said, okay, well, what if I gave you an additional $500? So his persistence, that's what touched me. So I said, let me listen to the song. So I did. I came back to him and I said, listen, I won't do the entire song because the song needed, in my opinion, because he asked a lot of work that I didn't have the time to do, because I have been working on a YouTube kids channel for kids ages 3 to 7 called Mr. Jesse. And it's like Mr. Rogers meets LeVar Burton, his Reading Rainbow, whereby I use now, get this, the talents of singing, voiceovers, animation, and acting, as well as now producing and so forth and so on, to bring universal content to life for children so that I can impart into them being our future. Because I'll leave it at that. So that's what I've been busy doing. So bottom line is, I'm like, well, I went back to the guy and I said, listen, I'll do it. I'll do it for your fee. So he said, well, I don't know if, what it's going to take, if it's going to be worth it professionally, business wise, because, you're not who you used to be. And, I don't know if you can reach a lot of people like you used to. So I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, okay, well, we're about to end this conversation. But something said, no, just listen to him. So I listened to the guy. And it was amazing as to the things that were coming out of his mouth. So I said, hey, listen, let me know by the end of the night if this is what you want to do or not, because I don't want to waste time. I enjoyed the conversation that we had about 2 hours over the past day and a half, but I need to, so just let me know by tonight. So the guy calls back and he tells me, you're not who you used to be. And then he still goes to say, well, if I were you, I would accept whatever people ask. If somebody offered me $500, I would take it. You're not successful because you did this and you did that. And then I saw your interview, and here's the point. I heard your interview with Samantha, and for you to pass up, you passed up Clive Davis. You did. You had an opportunity to pass that. What in the world would cause you to pass up a Clive Davis? And then you charge somebody that amount a couple of weeks ago. I'd like to know who that person was. And I'm listening to him like, wow, this is amazing. I gave the guy what he wanted. And then it became something different. I said, oh, so this guy is literally outthinking his swing. Something great could have come of it. Something great could have come of it. But he overthought his swing. And he ended up swinging the opportunity away. And that's what I don't want to happen to us. Because if we have understanding, we have knowledge. And the knowledge is power. But it's what we do with that power that becomes powerful or powerless. And this is my point. God has given me major opportunities as a result of the gift that made room, and the gift need to be worked. What are you doing with the gift during this time of transition from where we were to where we are to be? What are you doing with it? What are you using the power of life and death in your mouth to speak into existence as though it were? Because it's always been, because there's nothing new under the sun, nothing. But it's when you speak the things that you think are not, as though it was because it's always been, that's when it appears. It's all about a thought. Thoughts become things. And if you add extra worry, then you add extra things internally that brings about extra things externally, and you can end up crowding your blessing right out of your life. Whew, I know I just said something. but I'm tired in my way. My voice is tired. I've already spoken on Instagram. I've spoken on Facebook and now here, and I've spoken on the phone. But I believe that a more efficient way of sharing is coming. And so I ask that if this has been of any kind of applicable blessing to you, I'm open to receiving a blessing from you in the form of any one of those donation apps. No, I'm letting you know. And another reason why I'm saying this to you is because when we go to church and when we give our 10%, our tithe or our tithe, when we take our offerings and give them, and when we are forced to give our taxes to our governments, we get things in return. When singers, when musicians, when comedians, when those of us say something that blesses you in your life in some way, shape, form, or fashion, don't not pour into them just as you do into the other things and the other people. Do so, because we're all in this together. And I encourage you to move forward and do what you know to do to the best of your ability, because there are people who don't want you to succeed, but it's not about them. If you can reach just one person that I or anybody else never could and never would reach, then you have done your job. So sing your songs, people. Tell your jokes, write your scripts, come on and act. Don't not use the gift, because the gift, it's there whether you use it or not. But the thing about it is the gift needs you in order to exist. Otherwise, it's just sitting up there somewhere. But you have to be the one to acknowledge it and put that thing into use. Whew, okay. I appreciate you guys very much so. So I'll be back. This is just the first, and I'm going to find a way to shorten this thing. And I will be singing more. Someone's asked me to record songs and things like that, just looking for the right songs. But anyway, thank you. I will post up. Let me post up right here, right quick. This, just in case you guys would like to be a blessing, by all means, here it is. It's coming right there. Boom. Uh-oh. Saying too many. All right, let me take that's too much here. Let me see. Delete. And I'm going to see what you guys are saying. Okay, there we are. It's there. All right, so let's see. Jacob said, I'm not going to let you go till you bless me. He wrestled with God. That he did. Mac. I'm a big fan from the Philippines. Awesome. I love how you're using Mr. Jesse. Oh, thank you so much, Mac. I really do appreciate it. Janadrin Beddard. I don't even know, to be honest. But you try your best. Well, that's a start, Janadrin. It really is a start. It's like when the children of Israel were released from prison. Just because they were released physically doesn't mean that they were released mentally, and their faith was weak. So God allowed them to come to the sea, which prevented them from seeing the blessing, just so that he could raise up their faith. So in the midst of the army coming from behind them and the sea that was before them being in between that rock and the hard place, they were mad. They looked for someone to blame. So they looked to their leader, Moses, and the other leaders. They were like, no, go get Moses. Go get him, because we got something to say to him. But they were upset. They were fearful, because their thing was like, did you bring us away from Egypt, where there were graves for us, out here to the desert? Where there were no graves for us in Egypt, to come out here and to die in the wilderness because there's plenty of room? Is that why you brought us out here? And I'm so glad that you asked the question, because I never got to this point. So the thing is, they looked to Moses, and Moses, he didn't know what was going to happen himself. But the difference from their leader and the difference from a lot of our leaders today is that Moses was a man of faith. So he listened for God more than he listened to the people of God. And so therefore God told him to go up on this rock. And so he was elevated above the people so that he can get more of a view than the piece, so that he can see more of the whole. That's what God did. So that was indicative of our ability to change our level of perception. So he sent him up on the rock. And then he told him to lift his staff. And so he went from a high place to even a higher perspective. And it was when he lifted his staff that the people began to look up, which was the indication of looking up to God, whereby we look to the hills which cometh our help. That is to and in higher consciousness, a higher thought of our mind, of the way that we see things, of the way that we perceive things. And that's what that basically meant. And as a result of him lifting his staff up even higher, it was then that God worked a miracle and split the sea. The sea that prevented them from seeing the blessing, he split it and he enabled them to walk freely through. And then when they got to where they were supposed to be and had greater insight, then the army came, and then the sea swallowed them up and killed them all. The leader of that country had to admit, their God is God, and I, Pharaoh, I am just a man. But unfortunately, history repeats itself. The people of Israel cried out to God, and God heard them. They didn't have a whole lot of faith, but the little bit of faith that was the size of a mustard seed, it moved God to the point where God sent another man to tell this big man who felt as though he knew everything and that he had everything, told him to let his people go. And he like, who told you to tell me to let my slaves, his people, their people go? Who told you this? And Moses was like, I am. You what? I am told me to tell you. You are told me to. What? And he said, no, its name is I am. I am told me to tell you to let his people go. So I am told you to let, yes. So I am, yeah. And he said, no, I am that I am. That's his real name, his full name. Oh, so I am that I am told me to let, how about you go tell I am that I am no. So bottom line is, through a series of all these unfortunate events, a lot of people had to die. And we have to continue to pray to reach out to God with ever size of mustard seed faith that we have. So I said all that to say, you may have a mustard seed, which is a tiny, tiny speck of a seed size of honesty. If you begin to be honest wherever you can be, that honesty grows. It grows and grows. And eventually, you'll be able to say, I'm an honest man. But just start somewhere. Start somewhere. I try my best, he said. The Bible, Teak, PK, JC. Love and miss you too, Lady Shorty. I don't know who you are by that name. I can't see pictures here. Choli ahead, bless you as well. I want to succeed, but in a different way. Hey, you just keep moving. You never know. This is held for review. Oh, why are they holding my message for review? Let's see. He told me to check out one of his songs. I can't do it right now because I definitely have to get going. Thoughts do become realities. I needed this. What a word, that your stress thoughts can crowd out your blessing thoughts. I love that. Beautiful. Someone in an Asian language said, I just listened. If I ain't got you on YouTube, I'm one of your big fans from Korea. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wish I had money to donate, but I'm sorry, I'm broke as a joke. Well, jokes aren't funny unless there's some truth to it. So that was funny. And we'll just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Tasha Woods, it's good to see you ministering, Jesse. I hope you continue to minister through that beautiful voice as well. You better believe it, Tasha. You better believe it, Tasha. Yeah, Tasha, you better believe it. All right, let's see. It's been 10 years. I'm a huge fan. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. This was good, Minister Bro, for real. Thank you. All right, guys, I'm going to go because I do have to run an errand. Words have power. Yes, I received that in Jesus' name. Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Jesse C, love. I love that. I love it. Bianca Snyder, hi. Hyung Hong, Hyung Young. I can't understand everything you're saying in English, but thank you for doing this live broadcast. Is it okay if I request a song? If I'd like to ask you to sing a song? Don't stop loving me. I don't have the tracks to those songs. Someone actually asked me to to post When You Cry, I Cry. I don't have the rights to the songs. Capitol Records destroyed thousands of CDs. They actually got rid of all of their urban artists. So I don't really have those. I only have a few of the tracks. But I will definitely do more singing because I know that's primarily the reason why many of you have joined here. But this is where I have the most followers from different parts of the world. So, Words of Love just played on Dead Presidents. Cool. Did she disappear or something? Sandra, no, she's around. She just resurfaced in my life, that is. One of the greats, When You Cry, I Cry. Yeah. You should check out one of my cover songs. I do plan to do that, when I get some time. You said no offense, but this doesn't look like freedom to me. Well, freedom is a state of mind. It begins there. It's just like I said, they release them from slavery physically, but mentally it takes time, little by little. But it has to start somewhere. Spend some time meditating on what it is that you truly desire. And start there. Things will start to come to you. Okay. All right. I'm taking off, everybody. I'll see you all again. Love and light to you all. And if we never pass this way again, just remember this time and how good it's been. And let's not forget Source who made this possible. Just remember it's so wonderful. Well, love and light, love and light, love and light, love and light, love and light. And at Agape, we sing a song of blessed always, for the arms of God surrounds us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Oh, let our let joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. All right, guys. Love and light. Mm-hmm.